Your club is sinking, but you are too busy watching Arsenal lose. Welcome back to K Arsenal Sports, the home of real Arsenal talk, no nonsense, just pure football passion. If you are new here, welcome to the family. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video or post. We drop Arsenal content all week long, and trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming over the next few months. It is going to be a big season. Now let us get into it, because this weekend just gave us a lot to talk about. Imagine losing a game on Sunday and then spending the rest of your weekend watching other people celebrate your loss while their own house is completely on fire. That is exactly what happened this weekend. Arsenal lost the Carabao Cup final to Manchester City. It hurt. It always hurts to lose a final. But while Arsenal fans were feeling that pain, something very interesting was happening everywhere else in English football. Tottenham fans were laughing. Chelsea fans were laughing. Liverpool fans were laughing. All of them on social media, full of joy, celebrating Arsenal losing a cup final. And every single one of them had just watched their own club have a weekend that was honestly so much worse. So today we are going to talk about all of it. The injuries, the international break, what the pundits are saying, and the big question that nobody who supports those clubs seems to want to answer. How is it that your team is doing so badly, but all you care about is what Arsenal are doing? The weekend that was, what actually happened this weekend. Let us start with the facts, because the facts here are really something. Arsenal lost the Carabao Cup final to Manchester City. That is painful, yes. But look at who they lost to. Manchester City, the most successful English club of the last decade. The team with the highest wage bill in world football. Losing to them in a cup final is not a disaster, it is football. Now let us look at what happened everywhere else on Saturday. Tottenham Hotspur, one of the clubs whose fans were quickest to mock Arsenal, lost 3-0 at home to a team that is fighting to stay in the Premier League. A relegation side at home. And here is the thing that makes that result even more shocking. Tottenham are now only outside the relegation zone on goal difference. They have picked up just 5 points from their last 39 available. They have not won a single league game in all of 2026. Not one. If Tottenham fans are genuinely happy that Arsenal lost the cup final, does that mean they are okay with their own club potentially being relegated? What kind of football support is that? Chelsea, the club with the most expensively assembled squad in the history of football, lost 3-0 at Everton on Saturday. 3-0 at Everton. They came into this season as some people's dark horses for the title, the so-called world champions. Now they sit in 6th place, and after that Everton result, it is now mathematically impossible for them to win the Premier League title. A squad that costs more money than any other squad ever assembled in football cannot finish top of the table. That is extraordinary. Liverpool spent over £400 million in the summer after winning the league last season. Almost every single pundit expected them to run away with the title again this year. Instead, following their defeat to Brighton on Saturday, they sit in 5th place. They are 21 points off the top of the table, and there are only 21 points left to play for. This is Olympus title defence this millennium. Not this decade, this millennium. 5 Spurs points from last 39. 21 points Liverpool off top with 21 to play, 9 points. Arsenal clear at top 6. Chelsea, title mathematically gone. And yet all 3 sets of fans had a good weekend because Arsenal lost the cup final. Let that sink in for a second. The injury update: 6 Arsenal players pull out of international duty, and the pundits say this is actually good news. Now let us talk about the international break, because this is important and the conversation around it tells a really interesting story. 6 Arsenal players have pulled out of international duty this week. William Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes, Leandro Trossard, Jurrien Timber, Eberechi Eze and captain Martin Odegaard are all staying at the club during the break instead of travelling with their national teams. Gabriel pulled out of Carlo Ancelotti's Brazil squad after experiencing right knee pain following the Carabao Cup final. The Brazilian FA confirmed the news, saying imaging tests showed he was not fit to play during this international window. Brazil will not be calling anyone up to replace him. William Saliba withdrew from the France squad with pain in his left ankle. The French Football Federation confirmed that Saliba is suffering from recurring ankle pain that needs treatment and at least 10 days of rest. Crystal Palace defender Maxence Lacroix was called up in his place. Leandro Trossard pulled out of Belgium squad after a consultation between the Belgian FA and Arsenal. The decision came after a hip issue Trossard had been dealing with recently. Jurrien Timber, who was already missing from the Carabao Cup final through injury, has also pulled out of the Netherlands squad. Sunderland's Lutz-Charel Geertruida has been named as his replacement. Eberechi Eze missed the final entirely due to a calf problem and has also withdrawn from Thomas Tuchel's England squad. He is expected to have a scan within the next week to find out how serious the injury is. And Martin Odegaard, Arsenal's captain, has not been included in Norway's squad at all as he continues his recovery from the knee injury that has kept him out since February. Norway manager Ståle Solbakken was clear about why. He said the most important thing is making sure Odegaard is ready for the World Cup this summer, and pushing him back too soon would be pointless. The most important thing is that he is as well prepared as possible for this summer. It would be idiotic to push through something we do not think is wise just because he needs to be present. We will see if he shows up, but it is not something we are pushing through at all. Ståle Solbakken, Norway manager. Now here is where the pundit conversation gets really interesting, because a lot of people who cover football have pointed out that this international break, for all the noise about injuries, could actually be the best thing that could have happened to Arsenal right now. Think about it. When players go away on international duty, they are travelling long distances, playing matches at high intensity for their countries, and coming back tired. Sometimes they pick up new injuries, sometimes they come back feeling drained. Arsenal have 6 key players who, instead of all of that, will spend the next 2 weeks being looked after at the training ground, resting, receiving treatment, being prepared for what comes next. Which is better for Arsenal right now, Saliba flying to America to play a friendly against Colombia, or staying in London for 10 days of rest and treatment so he is fully fit for the Champions League quarter-final? Several pundits have made exactly this point. With the schedule Arsenal have coming up after this break, having those players fresh and healthy is worth far more than watching them play in pre-World Cup friendlies. This break is not a problem. For Arsenal it is almost a gift. What is coming, the schedule that is coming, and why Arsenal need every single player fit, because look at what is on the horizon after this international break. This is where things get seriously exciting for Arsenal fans. First up on April 4th is the FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton. Arsenal are still in the FA Cup, still fighting for that trophy, still alive. Then 3 days later on April 7th, Arsenal face Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League quarter-final. The Champions League quarter-final, the biggest club competition in the world, and Arsenal are still in it. On April 11th, they face Bournemouth in the Premier League, where Arsenal currently sit 9 points clear at the top of the table, 9 points with games to play. The Champions League quarter-final second leg comes on April 15th. And then on April 19th comes perhaps the biggest game of the season, Manchester City at home in the Premier League. City have a game in hand and are 9 points behind. That game could go a long way to deciding the title. 4 competitions, 4 trophies still possible. This is the reality of Arsenal's season right now. The Carabao Cup is gone, yes, but everything else is still there. Still available, still winnable. Can you think of another club in England right now who has this much still to play for? Liverpool cannot win the title. Chelsea cannot win the title. Tottenham are fighting not to get relegated, so who is actually in a better position here? And with 6 players getting the chance to rest and recover during this international break, Arsenal could be walking into that April run of games in very good shape indeed. The bigger picture, the real problem with hate watching and why it is killing football, right. Now let us talk about the elephant in the room, because the injury situation and the upcoming games are one thing, but what happened on social media after the Carabao Cup final is a much bigger conversation. There is a growing culture in English football, and honestly in football everywhere, where fans do not really care about their own team anymore. What they care about is watching a rival fail. It is called hate watching, and it has become a massive part of how football is consumed today. Tottenham fans, Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans, they were not celebrating anything their own club did this weekend. They were celebrating Arsenal losing. That is it. That is the whole thing. Their weekend was made not by their team winning or playing well or making progress. Their weekend was made because Arsenal lost. And the thing is, you can understand why it has become like this. Shows like TalkSport and brands like Paddy Power have built entire business models around this exact behaviour. Mock whoever lost at the weekend. Whichever team had the worst result, go at them, get the fans of rival clubs laughing, and watch the engagement go up. That is the business. And millions of fans follow that model now without even realising they are doing it. Chelsea fans will mock Arsenal one week, then Liverpool the next, then Manchester United the week after. It does not matter which team it is. As long as one of their rivals had a bad week, they feel good. That is not football support. That is something else entirely. Think about the Tottenham story from a few years ago. Their own fans were celebrating a Manchester City goal against their own team, a goal that ended up costing Tottenham Champions League football. Their own fans were celebrating their own team being knocked out of the top 4 because it meant Arsenal missed out on something. What does that tell you about where their priorities are? Is supporting a club about wanting your team to win, or is it now about wanting your rivals to lose? If you had to choose between your team finishing 3rd and your biggest rival finishing 2nd, or your team finishing 5th and your rival finishing last, which would you pick? And does your answer worry you? The truth is that Chelsea fans, Tottenham fans and Liverpool fans all had objectively terrible weekends from a football perspective. Their clubs lost, their clubs are struggling, their clubs are nowhere near where they need to be, but they felt good on Sunday night because Arsenal lost the cup final to the best team in English football over the last decade. That is a strange way to experience football, and over time it hollows everything out. Because if your happiness depends not on your team winning but on your rival losing, then what are you actually watching football for? Back to the Gunners, where Arsenal actually stand and why the noise does not matter. Let us come back to what actually matters. Where are Arsenal right now? Arsenal are 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. They are in the FA Cup quarter-finals. They are in the Champions League quarter-finals. They have a squad full of players who are getting rest and treatment during this international break, so they come back sharp and ready. And they have a manager in Mikel Arteta who the pundits acknowledge will learn from the Carabao Cup final and make adjustments. Ben White has returned to the England squad for the first time since the 2022 World Cup, ending his self-imposed international exile. That is a positive story for an Arsenal player. He is back. He is available. He is part of Thomas Tuchel's plans for the Summer World Cup. The 6 players who are staying behind are not being punished or forced out. In every case, the national teams and Arsenal have worked together and agreed that rest is the right call. That is a mature, sensible decision that protects players ahead of the most important weeks of the season. And yes, Arteta got things wrong in the Carabao Cup final. Most pundits agree on that. There were decisions that did not work, tactics that backfired, but this is a manager who has shown over and over again that he learns, that he adapts, and that he gets better. The same game that showed his weaknesses also showed that Arsenal can compete at this level, even against a team with the financial muscle of Manchester City. If Arsenal do go on to win the Premier League title and reach the Champions League semi-finals over the next 2 months, will any of the fans who spent Sunday night celebrating the Carabao Cup loss admit that maybe they were celebrating the wrong result? The noise will always be there. That is football. Rivals celebrate when you lose. Pundits look for angles. Social media runs hot. That is just the environment. But underneath all the noise, the reality of Arsenal's season is genuinely something to feel good about. A title race they are leading. 3 competitions still live. A squad getting healthy during a break that could not have come at a better time. And a schedule coming up that could define this club's decade. Would you rather have Liverpool's weekend? Or Chelsea's? Or Tottenham's? Or would you rather have lost the cup final to the best team in England and still be 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League with the FA Cup and the Champions League still right there in front of you? The answer to that question is obvious. And honestly, the fans mocking Arsenal on Sunday night deep down know it too. Ignore the noise, back the boys. The real season starts now. Southampton, Sporting, Bournemouth, City. 4 games in April that could change everything. Make sure you are here for all of it. If you found this post useful or it made you think, share it with an Arsenal fan who needs it right now. And if you are new here, come and join the family. Subscribe and hit the bell. Comment below which game are you most nervous about in April. Southampton, Sporting or the City match.